All right, so welcome everybody. Today we are lucky to have the creators of the film Guided. They have their media film company, Creative Truth Films. They are all three sisters, Megan, Melanie, and Melissa. Thank you all for coming here today.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us.
So, you may or may not have seen their film Guided here on Somerset Community TV or also on YouTube, but we're happy to have you here today to ask you a few questions about yourselves and the filmmaking process. So why don't we begin with you telling us a little bit about who you are and where you're from?
I am Megan Cottle, and I am from Madison, right here in Madison. Is that all you want to say? I am a stay-at-home mom, and I do part-time filmmaking. I'm doing it for quite some time, probably about 7 years, seriously.
I'm Melanie Deno, and I live in Athens, Maine, and I am part-time at Bromar Printing here in Skowhegan, and I do order entry, and I do part-time filmmaking, obviously.
Mm-hmm. I'm Melissa Deno. I am from Athens, just like Melanie. We are in the same household. Same thing as them, we've all been filmmakers for about the same time.
And you work?
And I work. I work part-time in Hannaford.
Yes, if you're ever at the Skowhegan Hannaford, well, I don't want to give away
No,
your location,
please,
but
no.
you might recognize her from films such as Guided or Cashier at Hannaford.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you become interested in filmmaking?
Ever since we were probably about, I was 7 years old, and she was like 5 years old, and Melissa was actually not in the film. We would try and recreate different kinds of films. We watch a lot of Disney, and we would do Lady and the Tramp, and we have a video of us doing it, and I was doing this little director, as I was like 7-year-old, trying to direct my sisters on how to,
but while filming.
While filming, so you can hear my voice on the film. And so we started out just like that, recreating film, and I really loved the aspect of the art of fight choreography. Mm-hmm. So I would start out just going, oh, how did they do that move? And I would find out, oh, there's these behind the scenes. So I would go into that, and after a while, I would start watching a bunch of behind the scenes on everything, and it got me interested in just the art and the power of film and making something look really, really cool.
Yeah, for me, it's more of just the whole creating. Like, I just always wanted and loved creating. Like, God just gave us so much creativity, which I'm so glad for, because if I didn't have creativity, I think I'd be the most boring person ever. Because literally, it's just like we started with, like, just drawing and just making our own characters, our own worlds, just having fun with that, but then realizing we can make this come to life, and stuff like that. So that's for me, like, how I kind of got started.
Mm-hmm. I would say Disney is a big inspiration for me. Me and my sister, even as little kids, we would love to just watch movies, and we would slow it down, and we would just watch the hand-drawn animation. And I'm actually working right now on a YouTube channel that I'll be animating. So at the moment, I'll be more studying on that. But it's really inspiration from Disney to keep working at what you love. And yeah, I would say Disney is one of the most inspiration.
Yeah, I think that's really cool, and that's probably for a lot of people, I think, where they start out at least. So you are all kind of talking about slightly different things that you're interested in, drawing, fight choreography, things like that. So how do you break up work for your productions? Is there, do any of you have a particular specialty that you like to do on the film set and in post-production?
I think that because we're so small, we've been doing it, filming for a while, but again, we've not really done the whole social media thing and reached out to people, which is why we're doing this now, is trying to reach out to people. But we have such a small group that we have to share a lot, and be just like, okay, we have a script, but we need to have a writer and a screenwriter, and we have to have a producer, and we have to have a director, and you're acting, so you can't be the cinematographer, so I have to be the cinematographer. Right. So for a while, it was just who's acting? Okay, then you're doing the camera if you're not acting, and then we would just do that kind of stuff. But for me personally, I love the cinematography. I love trying to figure out how can I make this look so cool, or really just how can I make this shot make the audience feel something? Because that's the art of filmmaking, is trying to not just have something cool on the shot, but also to have the art of, oh man, that really made me scared. Why did that make me scared? Why did that make me feel this way?
Yeah.
And I love writing and directing.
Yeah, for me, I'd say probably, well, I do love acting. I love bringing whatever we worked really hard on to life. I love the aspect of that. And also the writing. I'm just really into the writing aspect. Again, just kind of bringing the story to life and creating.
Storyboarding is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Always has been, always will.
Because
Yep.
she's a drawer, you know,
Right.
she loves to draw, and that's the really cool thing is that we all have these different talents, and we realized, well, probably a couple of years ago, they were like, we have all these talents, and it can all be applied to filmmaking, and that's the great thing about filmmaking, is that there are some people who are just like, well, I'm not a filmmaker, I like drawing. You could help in this area.
Come on
you know?
down.
Right, come on
Yeah.
down. You know, so it's pretty cool how that works out, and it's really helpful, especially the storyboarding aspect.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
makes the cinematography so much easier. Trying to go, oh, we're just going to draw this ahead of time, so that way we get to set, and I don't have to go, okay, how am I supposed to make this shot work? I got the storyboard right here,
Yeah.
and it helps with that. So that's
Yeah.
really how we break up work, is just trying to work off each other and our talents, and also call our friends and family. You know, we have
Help.
Bethany Cooper, who lives in, I think it's like New Hampshire area, in Massachusetts, New Hampshire area, and she does a lot of stage work, but she also loves doing film with us. So we'll call her up and go, we need to be an actress, so
Yeah.
you come on over.
Yeah.
And same thing in Guided, there was Caleb Spalding.
Yep.
First time filming with us.
Yep.
He did a fantastic job.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. And that was his first time on camera too. But it's just like, let's call our friends and family
Yeah.
and see what they're willing to do.
Yeah.
You know, see if they're interested in filmmaking and being a part of that adventure. You know, it's pretty fun.
I think sometimes if you have non-professional actors in your film, sometimes it can actually come off, in my opinion, as being slightly more authentic.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
can. It can.
Yep.
It
Some
can
of
be
my-
the opposite. But
Yeah, some of my favorite films actually, when I was like researching about them, I found that like a lot of the actors were just people who looked good for the part,
Yeah.
just kind of looked the part. So,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you also about the editing process, because as somebody who does video myself, I know it can be pretty difficult.
It is. Yeah.
How did you? What software are you using? Or-
I use a software called Cyberlink Power Director.
Yep, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's one of the, it's not the top, very top.
Yeah.
Everybody uses Adobe Premiere, right?
That's what we use
but
here.
it's a little bit higher on the price range, so I tended to go with the step down, just
Yeah.
one step down, and did Cyberlink Power Director. It was a harder thing to learn. It's
Yeah.
not very user friendly, but
Yeah.
once you learn it, there's a lot of options that you have. So I use Power Director for that. For Guided, and almost all of our films, I use that software. It's pretty helpful.
Film Guided it's an analogy I saw at the end for the Christian walk.
Yes.
Will you tell us a little bit about that? Because I'm interested in your like inspiration and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll start with the inspiration for the original film, because originally this was not a fantasy film. Originally,
from it.
Yeah, far from it. Melanie had the original idea. You probably want to tell about what your original
it
thought
wasn't
was.
at all like how it came out, which is so much fun to see because it really just did not come out what I was originally thinking. What I was thinking was it was going to be more like a silent film. Like a silent film, and I mean like 3 to 5 to 7 minutes long.
Sure.
And just a silent
Sure.
film, just about honestly a pessimistic person versus an optimistic person, and how pessimism needs to be dealt with accordingly and everything in this world and everything. But then we tried to work it out and make a script for it and stuff, and it just wasn't coming together. We're like,
Her and I
this
both
isn't-
wrote a script.
Yeah.
And it was based in high school, and we were like, okay,
Well, no,
do
that's the
this.
second part.
Oh, that was
We
right.
tried-
That was
yeah.
the second part.
Because that was the second time we actually changed it, was we wanted, like, okay, well, let's just make it more into a story. We'll actually have some dialogue, and we'll add some dialogue here and there, so we both worked on a script.
Right.
And, kind of worked off each other, and Megan did a great job, at
I
taking...
took the script because
yeah.
we worked together, and then I cleaned it up a little bit, and then I gave it back to her, and we said, okay, we'll think about it for a couple days. She calls me up. You're going to hate me. I'm like, oh, what? It's just, we need to scrap the whole thing. So,
I'm not feeling it.
yeah, I'm not feeling it. I'm like, okay. So I tried to like be calm about this, and like we've worked days on this script, and it's like, you just want to scrap the whole thing. Okay, we'll scrap the whole thing if you don't feel it, and it's just like it's not coming out the way that we originally wanted it to come out, to talk about the dangers of pessimism.
So why did you have to scrap it?
Oh, we scrapped it for a couple reasons. One, it just wasn't being, the pessimism side of it wasn't well portrayed in a high school setting, especially because of lack of gear, lack of people. In a high school setting, you have to have a lot of extras, and we don't have that capability. Also, we found out that if we wanted to have a high school to get permission to be there, you know, it has to be only a certain amount of hours a day. We could film on a Saturday from only a certain amount of time, so we found out location was going to be a problem. So all these little issues that built up to just be like, I just don't think God wants us to do it this way.
Yeah.
So let's just try something else and see if I can I'll write a script for something completely the same pessimism side of it, but just something different.
Well, I think that setting is something that a lot of people overlook when they have an idea for a film. If you don't have say it's a set in a factory. If you don't have a factory, you can't make your movie.
Right.
So
I mean, green screens, you could try.
you could try.
Right. And that's what we're learning. We're learning about how, okay, first, let's list out our options. Let's list out what locations we do have.
Right.
And that's why I wrote Guided. That's why I wrote a fantasy film, because I'm like, what locations do we have? And I said,
plenty of woods.
Maine is full of woods, and there's some beautiful places out here that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Like Houston, Brook Falls. I mean, not everybody knows about it. I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
I was living in Maine for 10 years, you know. So I was like, okay, how could I show pessimism? How could I show it? Because the other problem with the challenge of filmmaking is to show, not tell.
Right.
Not just give all this exposition and just
this is the lesson.
preach at people, because a lot of the problem with, not I'm going to say problem, I would say that a challenge that Christian filmmakers have is they're full of cheese, and it's very hard to you don't want to preach at people. You want to just give a fun story and inspire. Like, that's our goal, is to challenge, encourage, and inspire people.
I would say that was something that I noticed about the film. It really doesn't hit you over the head, as they say, with the message. It's something that you can watch, and by the end, the message has kind of been conveyed through the actions of the characters and the dialogue. It's like you said, it can be, I think, whenever you're trying to convey something, whether it's a Christian film or just something with some type of message that you want to get across, it's very easy to be heavy-handed.
Right.
Or too light, and you don't get it across at all.
That's
Vague,
true. Yeah.
being vague, and that's something we struggle with now, because we're so extreme on show don't tell, that a couple of our other films, people are like, I don't get it, you know, and they have that problem. But going back to Guided, just the analogy part of it, it was twofold. It was the fact that pessimism is such a hard thing right now, just in general, because there's just a lot of depression. There's just a lot of people just being so negative and just walking around. Like, you see people going to Hannaford and stuff, and the cashier asks you, he's like, hi, how's your day going? And you have this great opportunity to get someone to smile, right, by just smiling back. But you have a whole lot of people, Christians as well, who are supposed to be different. We're supposed to have joy. We're the reason why we have joy is because of Jesus Christ. So why do you have all these Christians going, oh,
It's okay.
my
life's horrible,
my life stinks right now, you know. So it's a way to also show joy. So that's why I wrote it as twofold, of just, you've got this pessimistic character, but you also have this optimistic character. And what happens when we go through trials in life, which is represented by the forest, and that, you know, the I don't want to give too many spoilers, but
Right.
Well, they did just watch the movie, so.
that's true, they did watch the movie. But it's really about taking the aspect of faith and pessimism, and the fact that when you are so pessimistic, there's no joy, there's no faith in the fact that it
God's
can
got
get
you.
better. God's got you. Trials happen. God's not here going, I'm going to fix everything for you.
Right.
He's there to help you, right? So that was the goal, is to try and have this character who has a very pessimistic outlook. And looking at all of the bad things that went wrong, because there was some bad things that happened, and she's just like, we need to give up. We need to try something else. Clearly this isn't working well. And a lot of Christians have that, where they go, okay, I'm saved by Jesus Christ, and that's awesome, and I'm pumped, and I'm just going to live my life, and everything's going to be hunky-dory.
Right.
Everything's going to be great. And then life happens, and bad things happen, because that's how the world is, you know? It's just like we have free will, and some people choose to make other people's lives difficult and other things like that.
But it's so easy to forget that God still has his hand on it, and you're just like, God, why did you let this happen?
Right.
You know, but it's not easy to, you know, it's not that clear cut.
Right. And that's why the seeker stone is there. The seeker stone is a representation of Jesus, of the Holy Spirit, and just guiding you on the right path. And even though it doesn't take away all the trials, it will get you through the trials, which is what people need. People need to be able to be encouraged and know that there's someone out there who's going to help them on their path, on their path of life.
Well, yeah, and there's a scene, and not to give away too much, but where one of the characters is saying, you know, let's get rid of the stone. Let's not follow the stone anymore. Let's do something else.
Right.
And that's kind of the, you know, you're faced with all of these challenges, and I guess I don't want to speak too personally, but you face these challenges, and you're kind of presented with this decision, I guess, of whether do you kind of have faith or not.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly.
And that's kind
do you throw in the towel, or do you go, you know what, trials happen, and you get stronger. Mm-hmm. People get stronger, and they also grow closer to God. Like, one of the things that people forget, and Christians especially forget, is that if everything went okay, do you think we would really be still wanting to have a relationship, to be talking to God and stuff? We would just forget. We would just go, thanks God, you gave me my golden ticket to a perfect life. Now I'm just going to live my life and do nothing. It's so important, and that's why pessimism is so dangerous, is because it takes away faith and joy.
So I hope we portrayed that in our...
That's what we're hoping that we portrayed in the film.
Well, how would you suggest, or how would you suggest somebody doesn't become pessimistic? Or is there anything that you could think of that is like for yourselves?
Sure, absolutely. I've been talking for a bit. Why don't you go down the line?
Well, sometimes if things are getting hard, whether it's at work or whatever, even at home, there are always things that get in your way, or obstacles. Sometimes I think about my Auntie Tara. She has had cancer about 3 times in her life, and each time has made it through. And the things that she's going through to still be alive is hard. She can barely see. She has had to have
so many problems.
So many surgeries had to be done. And if I'm thinking that this customer who's being rude to me is worse than what she's going through, something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
It's easy to think, woe is me, I'm having a bad day. Then you think about somebody who's having a worse day, and they're still trying at life.
Well, right,
and
you
they're
never...
still smiling.
Yeah.
And they're still smiling.
Like, you know, it was a miracle that she survived this cancer. It was a legitimate miracle. There was a 99% chance, I think, that she was going to die, and she didn't. And even though it was a struggle, and she's still struggling, and it makes just life hard. Cancer is really, really tough and difficult. She had a smile on her face, and that touched so many people, because everyone else was having a bad day at the hospital too, and they're just looking at her going, she doesn't have a good life. And how much of a testimony is that, to have someone who's struggling so much but still has joy? That's the light. That's something that really helps you.
But she couldn't have gotten through with it without, you know, God being there, and so many people were praying for her, like, even still, because, you know, it's, people know, even getting out of the woods of cancer, you still have your whole life.
Still have a long way to go.
So it's getting a bigger perspective. It's going, you know, what the Bible says about counting your blessings, and also about thinking of others. And those are the 2 main things about how to deal with pessimism. Is, look, yeah, there's something difficult going on right now, and yeah, your life sort of stinks right now, but there's got to be someone else whose life stinks even more, and you can pray for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It gets you out of your selfishness. Pessimism tends to be a form of selfishness sometimes, is because you're just so self-absorbed, and it's just like, my life stinks, and then it becomes...
It helps to turn your eyes to
somebody else, and to God especially.
Yeah.
Prayer, absolutely, helps.
Yeah, well, when you said that somebody like could be rude to you or something like that out in public, that a lot of times will make me think, what are they going through that is causing them to act this way?
People aren't just villains. They don't just wake up one day going, I'm just going to be a jerk to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, there's always a reason.
Yep.
There's always a reason.
Yep.
There's always a battle that someone's fighting that you don't see.
Yeah.
So, speaking of battles and pessimism and difficulties, did you guys run into any major issues through this film? I'm sure you must have.
That was a great segue.
It was
Yes.
So yes, there was a bunch.
Our first
And
day of filming.
First day of filming was the worst, and I'll tell you why. We didn't actually get to film that day, and the reason was because we got to the set and it was all the way in Bingham, so it's 30 minutes away, actually 40 minutes away because it's to Bingham, and then you go 10 more minutes into the middle of nowhere to the woods. We went to Houston Brook Falls.
Yep.
And as people know who've been there, you gotta work your way around all the dangerous routes and everything, so we're carrying all this expensive gear, or at least expensive for us,
and heavy.
all down, trying not to break our ankles, you know.
With
and,
a group of,
with
7 people?
A group of 7 people,
you know.
trying to get down to our spot, our film location. And we finally get there. There are bugs everywhere. And I can tell you the story if I have time later, but I'll tell you the story about the bugs later. But what really happened was, we tried to work on the sound, and as some people know who have worked with film, the mic sometimes just decides not to work, and you don't know what's going on, so you're messing around with it. I'm messing around with it for a half hour. We only have a couple hours to film right now, and I'm really stressing out because we're in the middle of nowhere.
Schedule.
I've got 7 people counting on me to just try and get this sound equipment to work.
Well, and that's your first time pretty much using that kind
And
of
my first time working with
What
that
were
equipment.
they? Were they like lav mics or?
No, they were
boom mics?
they were shotgun. It was a boom mic. It was a boom mic that we had just got and trying to work with, and I had practiced with it a bit. But in the middle of the woods, where you don't have anything to put your gear and stuff, it's just really, really stressful. So I was trying to work with that, and finally it got working. And I'm just praying to God. I'm just like, Lord, please let's just get something done today. And then I realized I had forgotten my binder up into the car, and the binder has everything. It has my shot list, everything, script, whatever. So I run 10 minutes back up the woods.
Lord.
I come back, and I start walking back. I am so stressed out. I am just almost in tears. I'm just exhausted and in tears. And I start to feel a drip on my hand, and then on my arm. I look up, and all of a sudden there's these gray skies, and I'm like, what in the world is going on?
This was not foretold?
This was not foretold. I thought God wanted us to do this filming. So I ran back down, and now it is pouring, and everyone has already packed up the gear and taking they have a piece of paper, and they're trying to hold it over each other to try and keep the gear from getting ruined. So I'm just like, what in the world? Because it wasn't supposed to rain like that.
It wasn't supposed to rain at all.
It wasn't supposed to rain. So we rushed back up. 10 minutes, running up. All of us trying not to die. Trying to get up into the car. We actually have, on Facebook, I think we have a vlog.
We have 2 vlogs.
What happened
we have a
night.
video.
So we get into the car. I'm a mess. I am like an emotional mess. I'm bawling my eyes out because I'm just like, I failed. Everybody failed. God doesn't want us to do this film. I don't understand. We spent a lot of money because we had to build a lot of stuff. We had to buy, we had to make costumes.
When we were wearing the costumes, we were running up that hill.
The costumes, we worked hard trying to weather the costumes, and now they're just wrecked. They're all clean, and we didn't want them to be clean. So we have all these things. I'm just like, I don't know, what in the world? So I'm praying to God while I'm crying my eyes out of the car.
I'm just driving.
I'm like, God, what do you want? What is going on? Why is this happening? And I'm just being really pessimistic now. I'm just like, there's no way we're gonna do this. There's no point. So my sisters are trying to calm me down.
I was actually kind of cracking up. It probably was.
Either
you cry or you laugh.
Yeah, you cry or laugh. And I was the crier. She was the laugher.
Or you drive off.
Melissa was taking a video of the whole thing. So we're driving home, and suddenly, after 5 minutes of it pouring,
when we're driving out of that area,
and it stops raining. And now I'm just like, okay, this is Satan. This is Satan. Satan just didn't want us to do the film. So we're driving, and this rain stops. And it's just like a little sprinkle. And suddenly, off to the left, one of my sisters says, "Oh, you gotta look out the window," and I try and get myself composed, and I look out the window, and there's this gorgeous long rainbow across the sky. And as you know from the Noah's Ark,
God's
in
promise.
the Bible, God's promise is that everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, all right. That's, my sister's like, see, God's telling you that it's going to be okay.
Everything's fine.
And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. We needed to film today, so what in the world? Why would God want to do this? This didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense. We keep driving. The rainbow was so long that it stretched and touched the road, so we
In
actually got
front
to
of us.
drive through the rainbow.
That
It was
has never
the
happened to
coolest
me
I've never
experience.
seen that.
I
Yeah.
Neither have we.
Really cool.
And
So that happened, and I didn't know that kind of got me calmed down, and I didn't know until the next day that God was doing it for a reason. And again, in the moment, it was just like God's just trying to screw up what we were doing. And in the moment later on the next day, we had to film a different location because
Yeah.
we were like, this is not going to work. So we
Yeah.
went to Madison, and we went to, I think, the near the Kennebec River. I think it's like a couple minutes away from where
Yeah.
I live.
Boat
Yeah, so it's like 2 minutes away. There's like not that big of a trek. It's only 5 minutes to walk to our destination for
Yeah.
the second location that we had just as a backup. We ended up filming there almost the entire time.
There were less bugs.
Less
Less
bugs,
bugs, no
less
people.
no
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
There was
How
it
many
was just
days
a
of
perfect
shooting
area.
did you have?
I think it was about 5 or 6 days.
I think it was about
5 or
6
6
days.
days, including that day where we didn't technically film anything.
Yeah.
Not all full days.
Yeah, not all full
Yeah.
days. And it was hot. The next
Yeah.
day, it was 94 degrees.
Yeah.
I had had 2 hours of sleep
Yeah.
because of all the mess up that had happened and everything. But God was doing it for a reason. If we had filmed in Bingham that entire time, we never would have finished the film.
Yeah.
Because of all the bugs, because of all the people.
How long
There was
it
so
took.
many
People
more
would
people,
stop
how long it
and
would take.
watch
It was
us.
40 minutes
course.
there and 40 minutes back, so it ate up all that film time.
Yeah.
But God knew that, not
But
us.
God knew that. We didn't know
We
that.
just-
And yeah, it was
It's pretty amazing.
we would never have finished if we hadn't done that. So that was a huge issue. Heat was a huge issue. It was
Bugs.
94 degrees.
It
The
was horrible.
bugs were so bad. There was one day where we thought we had bug spray. It turned out to be sunscreen.
Oh my word.
So we sprayed all over, and Megan had from here all the way to here just red with bug bites.
Yeah, I was like,
All of us
bug bites
had
on
'em.
each
I
side.
looked at it and just like wanted to cry. Just like Megan, that's horrible.
But
So,
anyway, those are some
yeah.
issues there, and yeah, that was bug.
But you made it.
Yep,
Yeah.
The film is done.
yep.
it's,
Praise God.
it's out there in the world
Yep.
for people to enjoy and
Hopefully share.
be inspired by. So what is next for you guys? Do you have a project that you're working on, or
Yes.
Tomorrow.
We're filming tomorrow.
We're filming
Actually,
tomorrow.
we're filming. We can probably say we're filming a comedy
Okay.
next because that's
A short.
We
short,
like to do two
thank
things.
goodness.
We like to make people laugh, and we like to challenge them.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a comedy and get people laughing,
Yeah.
and then we have a. We're hoping to do a music video, original
Cool.
song. Hopefully,
Who's the musician, if I might ask?
it's gonna be a cappella. We all like to
So
sing.
it'll be an original of your
Yes.
own music. Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, we-
That's what we're hoping.
Yeah,
That's what we're hoping.
And we're
It's
hoping to keep doing
pretty
stuff
small.
like that.
It's
Yeah.
just something that we wouldn't go too much into, but yeah, it was. We're doing that, and then we'll have another drama that she's writing right now.
Where can people find these things?
YouTube.
Everywhere.
We have a YouTube channel.
and
that-
they would search Creative Truth Films.
Yep, Creative Truth
Yep, that's
Films.
fine.
We have our logo. It's Creative Truth Films. It's got the blue cross like right in there.
We're on Twitter.
We're on Twitter. We're on
Instagram.
Instagram, Facebook. We're also on Patreon, which people can support us on YouTube by just subscribing and checking out our films.
Mhm.
And then we also have Patreon, which we just started, where
More financially.
more
they can
financially
support us
people can
financially.
support
Yeah.
us, and they can get the exclusive behind the scenes that we were
Yeah.
talking about, and
Yeah.
other things like
Goodies,
that,
stuff like
and
that.
help us get the gear that we
Yeah.
need,
Yeah.
pay for food for crew, because right
Yeah.
now it's volunteer,
Yeah.
right? And
Travel,
yeah,
all that
and
kind of
just
stuff.
trying
Oh,
to
yeah,
grow
Yeah.
locally,
Yeah.
get everybody to come in and
Yeah.
And
film
grow a
with us.
following and stuff.
Yeah, well, I think that we are running out of time here on
Whoops.
our. That's okay. on our
Yeah, it's
question
my
and
fault.
answer.
I'll
No,
call it.
I'm glad we were able to fill the half hour and to have you guys here and hear about your project so far. And hopefully, as you complete your next project, maybe we'll have you guys on again.
Yeah,
That'd be great. That'd be
Um,
awesome.
We'd like to hear about what you guys are working on, and we're excited to see what you come up with. So
Yeah,
thanks
we're
for coming
excited
on, and
Thank you.
good luck with everything. And I hope our audience enjoys Guided and anything else that we might have from Creative Truth Films.
definitely.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
And thanks for watching, guys.